8 women, 8 bodies, dragged from the swamps and canals of a Louisiana parish. Some strangled, some slashed, most left to rot in the murky water. The police said it was the work of a serial killer, an invisible predator stalking the highways, but the families whispered something different. They whispered that the killer was not a shadowy stranger in the night. He wore a badge. He carried authority. He was one of them. This isn't just the story of unsolved murders. It's the story of corruption, of cover-ups, of a small town where secrets festered like the swamp itself. And the truth, the real truth, was buried just as deep. What you're about to hear will challenge everything you think you know about justice in America. Before we dive in, hit that subscribe button and ring the bell, because on this channel, we drag the darkest mysteries out into the light, and the next story might just change how you see the world. Jennings, Louisiana, a town of only 10,000 people, a place most travelers never notice, just another stop along Interstate 10. But the locals know the air hangs thick with more than humidity. It hangs with fear, with rumors, with unspoken truths. Between 2005 and 2009, Jennings became a graveyard. The first was Loretta Chesson Lewis, May 20th, 2005. She was 28, a mother, fighting an addiction she couldn't escape. She sold sex to survive, hoping she could pull herself back up one day. Instead, fishermen pulled her bloated body from a canal. The police wrote it off. A woman like her, living on the edge, wasn't unexpected to find dead. But what they didn't see, or didn't want to see, was that she wasn't going to be the last. Just weeks later, June 18th, Ernestine Patterson, age 30. She'd been living in the same desperate spiral. When they found her body, her throat had been slit. 2 men were arrested, but the police waited 15 months to test the crime scene. By the time they did, no blood remained, no proof. The charges disappeared, and Jennings went back to pretending everything was fine. But the bodies didn't stop. March 2007, Kristen Gary Lopez, just 21. Friends say she was last seen getting into a truck with a man named Frankie Richard. Richard wasn't just anyone. He was a local pimp, a strip club owner, a crack addict, and someone who openly bragged about sleeping with most of the women who would end up dead. Kristen was pulled from the water, her body ruined by days in the swamp. Richard and his niece were arrested, but nothing stuck. Not enough evidence. They walked free. Over the next 2 years, 4 more women would vanish. Whitney Dubois, 26. Laconia Muggy Brown, 23, her throat cut, like Ernestine. Crystal Shea Benoizino, 24. And then Brittany Gary, just 17, a teenager. She was Kristen's cousin. One after another, pulled from canals, ditches, swamps. By now, Jennings was terrified, because these women weren't strangers. They weren't random. They were sisters, cousins, roommates. They walked the same streets, fought the same addictions, slept in the same crack houses, and they all shared one more connection. They were police informants. By late 2008, the panic couldn't be ignored. Sheriff Ricky Edwards held a press conference. A multi-agency task force was formed, the FBI, state police, and local authorities. Dozens of officers, a show of power. The message was clear. We're in control, we'll solve this. But they didn't. Because in August 2009, another body surfaced, the 8th, Nicole Guillory, 26 years old, dumped near the interstate, like garbage. By then, the town's faith in its police had evaporated. The women were known as the Jennings 8, or, more hauntingly, the Jeff Davis 8. And here's where the story turned even darker. January 2010, the New York Times dropped a bombshell article. It exposed incompetence so staggering it almost looked intentional. The lead investigator on the Kristen Lopez case, Warren Gary, had bought a truck from a jail inmate, a truck that witnesses later said was the last place Kristen was seen alive. By the time this came out, Gary had washed the truck and sold it. Evidence gone. His punishment? A fine and a promotion. He was made head of the evidence department. It was around this time that journalist Ethan Brown arrived. Brown, based in New Orleans, couldn't shake the story. He smelled something rotten. He traveled to Jennings in 2011 and found something more disturbing than a serial killer. He found a web of corruption. Families of the victims told him the women had been terrified before their deaths. They said the women felt hunted, and they didn't trust the police. Brown dug deeper. He uncovered witness statements, jaw-dropping accounts buried in task force files. 2 female inmates told Sergeant Jesse Ewing that evidence in the Lopez case was destroyed on the orders of Frankie Richard, the same Richard who had been arrested and freed, the same Richard who bragged about his role in the women's lives. Ewing, realizing something was wrong, recorded the statements and sent them to the FBI, but somehow the tapes ended up in the hands of the very task force supervisors he suspected. Not long after, Ewing was forced out. Then whispers started about Deputy David Berry. Multiple witnesses claimed Berry and his wife cruised the streets of South Jennings looking for sex workers. They'd lure them in, spike their drinks, and take them to a hidden sex room in their home. Berry was named as a suspect in several murders, but the task force interviewed him only once. In 2010, Berry died suddenly. With him, the trail went cold.
And Frankie Richard? The man constantly tied to the victims, the man whose name came up over and over? He remained free. Some believed it was because he was a police informant. Others believed it was because he was more useful alive than dead. But either way, he was protected. In 2016, Ethan Brown released his book, Murder in the Bayou, and in it he revealed a shocking new twist. A local motel tied to the victims wasn't just any motel. It was owned by a field representative for Louisiana Congressman Charles Boustany. Allegations swirled that Boustany himself had slept with some of the murdered women, 3 of them according to whispers. During his Senate race, Boustany sued Brown for defamation, but the moment he lost, he dropped the case. Brown was shaken. He said he received warnings, threats even. "You'll never get that book out," someone told him. He stopped going back to Jennings because the force that killed those women, he believed, was still alive, still powerful, still watching. So who killed the Jeff Davis 8? Was it a lone serial killer like the police insisted? Convenient, simple, a story you can wrap in a headline. But Brown's work suggested something uglier. A network. Perhaps police silencing informants who knew too much. Perhaps Frankie Richard covering for his protectors. Perhaps Deputy Berry indulging violent fantasies. Perhaps powerful men using desperate women, then silencing them forever. The truth may never be known. What we do know is this. Today, the case is ice cold. The files gather dust. The task force no longer exists. No convictions, no justice. 8 women, mothers, daughters, sisters, were failed in life and death. They lived hard, desperate lives, and in the end, they were abandoned. Ethan Brown once said true justice wouldn't just be handcuffs. True justice would mean no other woman had to live like they did, wondering where she'd sleep that night, where her next meal would come from, what price she'd pay just to survive. The swamp took their bodies. The system took their hope. And Jennings? It still keeps its secrets, buried deep in the mud of the bayou.